she disclosed that she had been in love with me this entire time. And I remember when she said that to me, it's like my body woke up. Like I had all these like tingles and like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What does this even mean?
Welcome to The Details with Allison Kahler, a space for real divorce stories and grounded conversations with experts, helping you find clarity and courage as you step into a future that may look different than you expected and better than you thought possible. My guest today is Lisa Madsen. Lisa is a mental health therapist and a certified life coach who works with women coming out later in life and others experiencing transitions in their relationships. Lisa herself came out in her 20s, then uncame out and got married to a man, and then came out again later in life. She's married to her husband, not husband, of 25 years and in a happy partnership with a woman now. Let's get into Lisa's story. Welcome to The Details, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Well, I am so excited to dive into today's conversation because you are the first story of not divorce that we're having here on The Details. And this September, you will have been with what you call your husband, not husband, for 25 years. So tell us a little bit about what a husband, not husband is.
That's a great question. Husband, not husband. I don't know if I coined that word or not, but basically, yes, 25 years this September is our anniversary, but we have not lived in the same house for 7. And probably a few years before that, we cohabitated. Like I've heard many stories of one person on the top floor, one person in the basement, while being parents and running a household. And so today, what a husband, not husband looks like is legally we are still married, but that is it for all other practical purposes. We have finances and investments together, but other than that, nothing. We are very good friends and remain very connected. When I'm in town on Wednesdays, we had a tradition. Every Wednesday we were married, we would have date night, whatever that looks like. And today we call it dinner with Lisa and Jim. And so when we are both in the same place on Wednesdays, we share a meal together. But he's amazing and very protective and watches out for me and cares about me. And we love each other in a friend kind of way. But definitely not married, have not been intimate for many, 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 many years.
Yeah. So you have Jim, your husband, not husband, but you are also happily repartnered now too. So tell us about
Yes.
that.
So I am repartnered with an amazing woman of almost 4 years. And the part of the story goes, I'm in my mid 50s. And when I was in college, my best friend in college in my sorority developed feelings for me and unbeknownst to me, and approached me one day. And basically, we were in a relationship together for about a year and a half until graduation. And that was very fun and very scary. And we were in the closet, and this was like circa 1990, and nobody knew about anything. And I was quite homophobic. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just because she's my best friend,
Yeah.
is what I told myself. And I basically dated women in my 20s. And then when I was 29, I fell in love with my husband. Oh, and I came out, which was painful in my family. And then I met my husband, not husband. We worked together. And I was just like, oh my God, what is going on? I can't be falling in love with a man. I just came out. But I did. It started with a trip to Nepal where we were just friends, and then came back, and it was my 30th birthday-ish time, and we fell in love, and we were friends for a year. We dated for a year, engaged for a year, got married.
So take us back to what it's like to come out of the closet, to have relationships with women, but then to fall in love with a man, right?
Yeah.
What was that like?
All my gay friends are going to think I'm a traitor. What's this bisexuality thing? I don't identify as that at the time. It's going to be so confusing to my parents. My husband, not husband, came up with a thought. My grandparents had passed away. They were very conservative, very religious. And my husband, not husband, joked that when they heard I was with women, that they prayed so hard that I would find the penis. And so we joke that's what happened.
So your grandparents' prayers were answered. You found the
Yes.
penis.
Mm-hmm.
And
So they can be happy in heaven, but now they'll be horrified again.
so, what were those early days of love like? What did it feel like to be in love with a man? And how was that different from your experiences with women?
I think I was like in a lot of shock, like confusion, not understanding, but also he was a very safe and loving and kind soul. Not your traditional, like, I don't know, traditional guy. He is very zen, very peaceful, recovering Catholic. And we were just curious and into each other and started this relationship. And I should probably say, a little embarrassing, I grew up in a very sexually repressed household and where we couldn't talk about sex at all. And so, like during high school, before I got together with my first girlfriend, I wasn't in any dating relationships. I wanted to be, and I like fantasized about it. And I was like a mini therapist to my friends about their dating relationships. But my first girlfriend was my first romantic relationship. And so then when I was with Jim, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I should say this, but I'm like, oh my God, what happens with a penis, right? Like, I don't, oh my gosh, like we have the funniest story. I hope nobody's listening, but like, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. We were sitting on the couch one day and I'm like, before we had sex the first time, and I was like, okay, this sounds really weird, but this is what I need. I need you to like pull your pants down. I just need to look, but you can't look at me looking at you. I just like have to have this moment. And so anyway, all of it everything sex related in the beginning, the first time, the beginnings, male or female, just
Yeah.
super anxious. But
Yeah.
ironically, then when I returned to being with women, however many years later, do the math, 20, 17, 18 years later, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with women again. Like,
Yeah.
and I would joke around and be like, I don't know what to do. Like, I haven't been with a woman for 18 years.
So take us back to the moment then. So you're married to Jim and you go back to being with women. So what was the catalyst for that?
Well, I should probably backtrack a little bit. Probably around year 8, 9, 10-ish of marriage, there were a lot of challenges, and we were pretty much as opposite as can be. And so I had read the book Conscious Uncoupling, and I'm like, I think we would probably be better separated and as friends, raising our son. And I presented this to him. I had created like a 5-page document of all the reasons that we were different. And there was nobody else involved. There was no angry feelings. It's just like we're
Yeah.
completely different. I think we both could be happier separate.
Hmm.
And unbeknownst to me, he was shocked, devastated, angry, all the
Mm.
things. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize he was quite as invested.
Mm.
And so I had talked to my son's therapist at the time. My son, who's 23 now, he just graduated from grad school, but he was around 10-ish at the time. And the therapist at the time had said, probably not the ideal time to part ways. For better or worse, I don't know. I took her advice. And I
Hmm.
decided that I had an amazing life. We had a great life. There was just no intimacy, no sex. And what I regret is not role modeling a close, intimate, healthy relationship to my son. But in all
Mm.
other areas, we were functioning just fine. Me on the top floor, him in the basement, being good parents, doing our own thing. And I'm like, okay, I'll just wait till high school graduation, like a lot of parents do, and live my
Yeah.
life and like kind of turn off my sexuality. Then COVID came along, and my first girlfriend from college, we had remained friends this entire time. She lived out of state, and we would get together when she would come to town a couple of times a year and go on long walks. But nothing ever happened, and I didn't consciously think about her in a sexual way. And at this time, I wasn't thinking about women. I just was not focused in that area of my life. And she called me up one day right before COVID, and she had thought I was having a happy suburban life. And I let her know there was a lot of big things going on and it wasn't great. And I was kind of buying my time. And she disclosed that she had been in love with me this entire time.
Wow.
And I remember when she said that to me, it's like my body woke up. Like I had all these like tingles and like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What does this even mean? Right? What does this even mean? But it just felt very right. And like coming home to myself. And we had many, many hours of conversation and decided to, quote, try again. By now it's COVID. We called this part of our life chapter, like love in the time of COVID, like chapter 2, trying again.
Yeah.
And then it felt super safe to me also because I'd been with her and we were really close friends. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know how to date. I was 49, 50. I'm like, I can't go into this world of online dating.
Yeah.
And she had told me she was in love with me. And I was like, oh my God, how did I not even know? And so we were together for about a year and a half.
So you told Jim before anything really got started with this former girlfriend, right? What was that process like?
So she was out of state and we had many phone conversations and he knew her. I mean, because she was one of
Yeah.
my closest friends. So she wasn't some stranger. And Jim knew my entire history before we got together. He knew I had been with
Yeah.
women. And so I remember we were planning our first get together. It was going to be in the Northwest. And I remember I was about to put my credit card in to buy the plane ticket. And I kind of had this mini freak out. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do this yet. I have to tell Jim all the things because I'm not going to be sneaky. There aren't any going to be any secrets. It's going to be like all above ground. What's that word? Above whatever.
Above board, above
Yeah, yeah,
board.
yeah. And so I'm a therapist, I'm a life coach. So I've been in therapy regularly. And I remember talking to my therapist about it. And I had written like this big long speech for Jim. And it felt so scary for me to say it. And I was telling my therapist, who is a male, similar age to my husband. And he's like, no, 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 no. There's not going to be some big speech. And I hate that because it was really good. Really good. He's like, index card. I'm like, what? An index card? He's like, uh-huh. You're getting this down to an index card. And that was just like soul crushing. I know that sounds a little dramatic.
Mm.
So usually when I'm paying for therapy, I take the recommendations. And so I painfully got it down to an index card. And this was so stressful for me for like the next week or so. I like memorized it every time I was in the car. I drove around town practicing saying it, trying to say it without crying, and all the things. I like even still have some of it memorized, I think. And so one day when the kids were going to be out of the house, it was Saturday, and I called him and I'm like, so what are you doing today? And he was out running errands. And I'm like, what time do you think you'll be home? And I still like right telling the story, my stomach's like clenching. And he's like, oh, I don't know,
Mm.
probably 11. I'm like, okay, I need to talk to you. And he was like, oh, okay. So I said that to like make sure I did it.
Yeah.
And so I got home first and I was in the master bedroom and I was sitting in a chair and I had my index card. And he used to always joke with me because, like, sometimes I get pretty emotional whenever we were having a big talk. I would bring notes in and about like to help me stay focused. And he came in and I was holding this index card and he's like, oh, it's one of those talks. I'm like, be quiet. Don't even make fun of me. This is serious. Because I was just like so anxious. And so I told him and ended by saying I would like to go see her like 2 months from that point. And it was like the most amazing response I could have got. And he was
Wow.
like, I'm not surprised. He wasn't
Mm.
surprised at all. Sometimes it's frustrating. I'm like, oh my God, he knows me better sometimes than I know myself, which I hate to say, but was true.
Yeah.
But he was incredibly supportive, loving, wants me to be happy. And
That's
so I
amazing.
remember like, and then he left the room and I was just like beaming with joy. I
Mm.
remember booking the flight and I drove over to my sister's house and I was just like ecstatic. And like if you see pictures of me that day, it's just like radiant.
Oh my
Mhm.
God. Okay, so we're all dying to know what was on the index card. What did you say?
Okay, now after well, like interestingly, like 10 years into our marriage, again, he knew my relationships with women before that. And again, this goes back. I hate that I was raised so sexually repressed. It's definitely impacted my life. But probably 10 years into our marriage, he turned to me one night in bed and he said to me something like, "Do you ever think about sleeping with women? Or would
Mm.
you want to?" And I remember I was so dramatic. I was like, "Ew, I can't even believe you asked me that. Don't even ask me that." And then I blocked that like conversation, although it wasn't a conversation. He said one thing and I'm like, can't talk about it. But when I was writing my speech, that memory came back to me.
Mm.
And so I started with that. I said, "I don't know if you remember, but like however many years ago you said da 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 to me." And I like shut you down. And I'm like, my first girlfriend called me and she told me that she was in love with me. And I feel like really excited and like I want to try and explore that. And I think I was crying and I just said, "I don't know how this is for you, but I want to talk to you about it before like we move before move forward. Nothing's happened. We've had
Mm.
conversations on the phone. Nothing's gone on. I wanted you to know that this is how I'm feeling." And we hadn't been together intimately for several years. And he's like, "No,
Mm.
I get it. We're like oil and water." I think he said something like that. He's like, "I've always known there was something, and whatever you need to do to be happy,
Mm.
please go do that."
What an amazing response.
It was amazing. I was very, very, very lucky.
And so different from the one that you had a few years ago when you initially suggested the conscious uncoupling. What do you think was different this time around?
Well, one, I'm a pretty quick processor. He's some slow processor. So he had whatever, however long to think about. He's genuinely very loving and caring. And if I was telling him that this is what I thought I needed, he was very supportive. Also, I'm not sure when we first got married, we joked that because he's about 8 years older than me, that if anything ever happened to me, he was not going to pursue. He knew this about himself. He wasn't going to pursue another relationship. He's someone who, interestingly, we joke that he's from another planet. Like he's very good alone or like alone
Mm.
with a pet, or he's not somebody who necessarily needs to be with somebody. So I think for him, a part of it was honestly was relief. Like,
Mm.
I'm not providing this if she can get this somewhere else from somebody else. I think that's a piece of it.
So, with Jim's blessing, you reconnected with your first girlfriend. What happened from there?
Hilarious story. I flew into Portland where she lived and I was all dressed up and all fancy because we are going to go on a date. And she pulled up outside, and I'd been to that airport a million times. So she had pulled up in her car right outside the airport, and I could see her and her car, and I like froze. I was like sweating to death. And I didn't know she could see me. And she texts me. We have a silly nickname for each other. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just sitting in the airport." She's like, "Get out here." I'm like, "No, I'm so scared. I don't know how to do anything." But then I was like caught, like she could see me just sitting there
Yeah.
freaking out. And so, yeah, then we left and then we had a lovely date. And I stayed at our house a night and then we had an amazing vacation up and down the coast. And it was interesting because literally it was in COVID when plane tickets were like $50 and nobody was getting
Yeah.
on planes. And
Yeah.
I couldn't be really out to my parents about what was going on because I'm married. I'm a married woman. I'm doing something very much out of the box. But what I told myself is I'm not hurting anybody. Everybody
Yeah.
that needs to know knows, and we get to figure out what works for us. But
Yeah.
it was a major brain scramble on what are you doing? What's going on? Who are you? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, are you still with this first girlfriend now?
I am not. We tried again for part two, and similar reasons to part one, we ended. We're still very good friends today. And no, I'm with an amazing woman who we've been together almost 4 years.
Wow. And so, what is life like now with this partner of 4 years, with your husband, not husband? What does life look like?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I go back and forth between she's in California and my home is Colorado, where my husband, not husband, and son, and friends, and doctors, and all of that are. So I go back and forth. I'm mostly in California, though, and I have a picture above my desk in Colorado. And it's my parents are both like fifth generation Californians. So every few years we do a reunion in Marin County on the beach. And I invited her. We'd been together not even 2 years. And I invited her to the last night of our family reunion after, coming out to everybody again. And I have this great picture of husband, not husband, myself, son, and her in front of the ocean. And I just love it because it's like we're kind of like a blended family. She looks to
Yeah.
him like a brother. They're very connected. My son and her are very connected. She just flew out to Colorado and was part of my son's graduation events, all of that. And husband, not husband, is an amazing Boy Scout. And he always, when he's available, takes me and picks me up from the airport. So he
Yeah.
picked us both up and he dropped us off at the airport. And yeah, I'm really lucky. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what a perfect definition of a blended family.
And my
And
son gets to see me being amazingly happy. And
yeah.
I love that. I remember he's come out to our house in California a few times. And the first time he came out, like 2 or 3 years ago, we were having a mother son date at the beach. And he's like, how did you know she's the one? Like he could tell that.
Yeah.
And that was like one of my top five conversations with him. And I'm like, I'm so happy he can like see me fulfilled and finally like I can role model.
How did you end up meeting your current partner?
Well, that's a funny story. And so I started taking this 12-month class called Finding True Love Online. And it was all about, first of all, intentionally getting to know yourself so you can know what you want and put it out there so you can attract the right person to you. And then ultimately, like you write a profile. And it's not like I like Thai food and pickleball and sunsets. It's like intense, lengthy, talks about your values, what you want long term. And there was a woman in that class in my study group, and we were sharing our profiles. And her and I ended up talking separately from the group. And I remember on the last day of the class, oh, and then each time in class, you're supposed to commit to like a baby step you're going to do like
Yeah.
the next week. And so I put out to my group, I'm like, I'm going to share my profile with you guys. And it was so scary to me, but I had texted the person who I'm with now and I said, if you want to stay online right after class, I will read you my profile. I'm like, but you have to respond right away because otherwise I'm going to be too chicken and hang up. And so she's like, yes, yes, yes. And so after like 10 or 12 weeks, I read it all to her and she was like, I want to be first in line to sign up.
So sweet.
And I had read her. Oh, another piece of it is she had emailed out to the four of us her profile. And I was like, oh, I think I like her. And there was everything. I fit all the categories except for like one thing. And I was like, is
What was
that a
the one
deal breaker?
thing? What was
Well,
the one thing?
it's embarrassing because of my sexual repression. It was something along the lines of kinky stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Right. And so, but I can. But anyway, so if I'm like, I fit every single one of the things she's looking for. And I remember there was another woman in our group of four, and she's like, oh, I know. And she had been living in Panama, but had relocated to Florida. And she's like, oh, I know a lot of women in California that would love to date you. And I remember feeling like, no, you can't send her profile anywhere because I want to be that person.
Yeah.
But I was shy. I'm shy, not shy. Husband, not husband. That's one of my mottos. But anyway. And so then I read her mind and she said, I want to be first in line to date you. And I was like, oh my gosh. So the irony is
Wow.
we were in a class on how to date online. We
Yeah.
met in an online class on dating, but we never actually went online.
You never launched your profiles officially. You just used the class.
No, only to each other.
Maybe that was the point of the class was to be
Maybe.
a matchmaking group. Oh my God, what an amazing story.
Oh no, I
And
know. It's like perfect. And interestingly, the class still continues, but that was the last class where the director randomly matched people. Now
yeah.
she has you match up based on like your time zone and all the other things. So it's
Yeah.
like I never probably would have connected with her, but maybe because she said she'd had her eye on me in classes before. So she's like, I would have found you. But
So you are splitting your time now between California and Colorado with your partner and husband, not husband, and son. What is the reason that you've chosen not to move forward with divorce at this point in your
I
life?
know that's a great question. People like assume we are or that we're in process. It's interesting to see people react because, again, we are very out of the box. We initially and ongoing have just decided at this point we don't want to spend the time, money, energy to do it all. That being said, it would probably be pretty amicable, but there's no reason right now. There's no burning reason. My partner and I
Mhm.
now aren't dying to get married. Yeah, we just don't, all of our assets are connected together. So we could, we just
Mhm.
aren't.
Yeah.
And that might be confusing for some people, but it works for us. I mean, I know this is a divorce podcast about divorce. And so we're legally married, but like that's all.
Yeah. But I think there's so many people these days that are choosing quote unquote less traditional arrangements, right? And what sounds most important is that, as you said, your body woke up. You came out, uncame out, came out
I know.
again. And
Crazy.
to have found love, to have the opportunity to role model for your son, kind of what that healthy romantic relationship looks like. Wow.
Well, I think just for people, and again, I'm a therapist and people are always like, what should I do? And I'm like, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but we'll figure it out. It's just like you have to make, there's no rules. There's no rules for anything,
Yeah.
traditional or untraditional. And you just get to figure it out as you go along. And that's sometimes that's hard, but it's also fantastic because you just figure out like what works for you. But you also have to do work on the piece about not caring what people think, which most of us care what people think, myself
Yeah.
included. So I've had to do a lot of work on just focusing on my relationship and what works there. And people are going to judge regardless. I mean, they're going to judge regardless. So yeah.
I mean, the message is so resonant and also it sounds so hard to actually do that. What did you do to overcome that?
Well, I still am, just to say we're all works in progress.
Yeah.
But I think therapy and coaching for me has been the best. And my therapist is like, we live in a culture that but like emphasizes we're organized around certain rituals like marriage, like the constitution of marriage, and for the most part people value that and like that's what you do. And so typically you're married to one person and typically you're monogamous. Obviously there's a lot of different kinds of relationships these days, but not a lot of people are in a situation like this.
Yeah.
And so it's very out of the box. So you will be judged, you will be criticized, it will be confusing to people. They won't understand. So be careful on who you share your story with and what you say, and know that people are going to have a lot of opinions
Yeah.
and be okay. Work on being okay with that.
Well, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story here because it takes a lot of courage to come forward, not only to the people in your life, but to a public forum like this to share your story. I am so grateful and just so wowed by so many different elements in your story. If someone is going through a process like this right now who might be waking up again, their body might be waking up. What do you hope they take away from your story?
Sit with yourself and figure out like if you weren't afraid of things or other people's judgments, what would bring you the most happiness while also being cognizant, especially if you have young kiddos or teenage kiddos, about how to handle that really carefully again with not doing any harm. I also remember that I had to come out to my son only once because he wasn't born the first time, although I gave him a brief synopsis that I'd been down this path. So I came out to him, and then when I don't think it was the first relationship, but with the person I'm with now 4 years ago when I knew it was really serious. My husband, not husband, and I, we got takeout and we met with my son and we told him that And we presented it together that my spouse was saying, Mom has somebody important and she's just going to be a part of the family. And he just rolled with it. I mean, it sounds like I'm so old when it's like kids these days. Like, I still feel
Mhm.
like a kid, but like 20 something teens, they like don't care about a lot of this. And they have so many,
Yeah.
they're born into a world where there's so many options and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And so, again, I had built up this big, like, scary, stressful thing to come out to my young adult child. And he was like, whatever, not a big deal. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
it's a different world.
It is. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for
You're
sharing your
welcome so
story
much.
with us today. And if people are looking to reach out to you, you said you're a therapist and a life coach. Where can they find you?
Lisa Madsen, coaching.com and or Psychology Today, Lisa Madsen, Madsen.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for being with us today, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to my conversation with Lisa. As I said in my first episode, my goal is to bring unique stories, including those of not divorce. For more stories like these, be sure to hit that follow and subscribe button. And if you haven't had a chance to do so yet, please take a minute to rate and review the show. Thanks again. We'll see you next week on The Details.